And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, well, you just can't trust your own eyes, your own ears, and pictures and videos, or at least that's the message from the Biden administration after saying almost nothing about the hordes of bus-sized, sophisticated, very loud flying objects spotted at very low altitudes almost every single night in New Jersey, now New York and Pennsylvania, since November the 18th. The administration is now saying that it probably is not happening at all. According to John Kirby, you just can't believe your lying eyes. What you see there, it's not real. Take a look.
Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings.
Now, remember, the Biden administration, they would never lie to you. So give them credit, give them the benefit of the doubt, except they did lie about that Chinese spy balloon thing, you might recall, and not leaving Americans behind in Afghanistan. They did abandon many of them, and our allies also. And they did lie about inflation being transitory, but don't hold that against them. And they did deny and lie about Biden being sharp as a tack and his cognitive decline. But maybe the biggest lie of all was about the border, because for years, the Biden White House, Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, Joe, everybody across the board, they said the border was secure and the border was closed. Everyone on earth knew they were lying. Illegal immigrants from all over the world, over 180 countries, pouring into Mexico, walking into the U.S. unvetted. And now, as Biden is leaving, people continue. They are pouring into the country in record numbers right now, unvetted, of course. Mark my words here, and I'm very serious, and I pray to God I'm wrong. Biden and Harris's horrible legacy will be far worse when one of these unvetted illegal immigrants that they have allowed into this country, we have known terrorists in the country, carries out a terror attack on our country. And I know it's going to happen. It's not when. It's when. It's not if. And when, and that if that happens, and I pray I'm wrong, I pray to God I'm wrong, they will have more blood on their hands, a lot more. Now, this is a nightmare waiting to unfold. And the images, they have been horrific. Illegal immigrants under bridges, living in tents, sleeping on sidewalks, pouring across the border by the thousands every day. Instead of protecting our country and our borders from cartels, traffickers, murderers, terrorists, rapists, and other dangerous criminals, Border Patrol agents, they were all too busy just processing these unvetted illegals, releasing them into the country or flying them directly into the country by the millions. All told, more than 12 million unvetted Harris-Biden illegal immigrants entered the country in the last 4 years. Now, these are people that we know about. That is more than the entire population of New York City. These so-called gotaways slipped through undetected, including all these people that I've been mentioning to you, all under the current White House, all under Biden and Harris, and all happening right before our very eyes. You see the drug overdoses skyrocketing, more people killed by fentanyl in the last 4 years than ever before in human history. Almost all of it came right across that border. Other Americans murdered, raped, assaulted by people who never should have been allowed into our country. And meanwhile, big cities, small towns all across the country, all of them have suffered needlessly from a sudden influx of Harris-Biden illegal immigrants. They need food, they need shelter, they need health care, they need education. You're paying for it. 2,000 miles north of the border, even New York City was struggling to keep up and spending hundreds of millions of dollars housing illegal immigrants in hotels, 3-4-star hotels. But in New York City, at least, that insanity is going to come to an end. And when Donald Trump's president, all of it will come to an end. As he has said over and over, he will seal the border on day one. That means new walls, new security measures, fewer restrictions on Border Patrol. They'll be able to do their job. The end of catch and release, stay in Mexico policy, I'm sure will be back. A slew of executive orders that will prevent asylum abusers from entering the country. Mexico and Canada, they will now be held accountable. There will be a massive amount of deportations, even to countries that do not want their own citizens back. During an interview for Time magazine, and the Person of the Year edition, Donald Trump said he would refuse to do business with countries who won't repatriate their own people. Tariffs, other penalties are also on the table. And according to Trump, quote, I will do whatever it takes to get illegal immigrants out of our country. Trump even reportedly plans to lift restrictions on ICE arrests at churches, schools, and hospitals. And now, because of the magnitude of this crisis created by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, even some Democrats are ready and willing to work with Donald Trump on this effort. Shockingly, even Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, he said they're going to have to go through me, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The mayor recently closed 25 illegal immigrant shelters, and today Adams met with Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan. After the meeting, Adams expressed grave concern for the horrific crisis that was caused by Joe and Kamala. Here's what he said. Take a look.
We will not be a safe haven for those who commit violent acts. We don't do it for those who are citizens, and we're not going to do it for those who are undocumented. We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime.
The days of outright lying, gaslighting, they are over. Joe Biden failed our country. Americans, many are dead. Children are missing because of these terrible policies. And now in his final act, Joe Biden is trying to sabotage the incoming Trump administration and hurt our country, frankly, just out of spite. Now, reports today, Biden is now rushing to sell unused border wall material, meaning Donald Trump will have to buy it back at full cost when construction resumes. Now, his chief of staff is instructing the administration to spend as much money as possible before Donald Trump takes office. Why? To boost left-wing causes on his way out. Biden signed off on big new contracts with thousands of government workers, and they are speeding judges through confirmation at a record pace. They are trying to sell off areas of Anwar. Lisa Murkowski, are you paying attention? And by the way, in the case of all of these, you got to give props to Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. Democrats on the Hill have also controlled the National Labor Relations Board through a lame duck vote. And meanwhile, they prevented that from happening. Overseas, Biden is escalating the war in Ukraine. He's leaving Trump with one disaster after another. He's making it worse on the way out. Joe Biden should frankly just pardon himself, his entire family, and go home. It is time to leave our country in more capable hands. Your time is up. Our long national nightmare is over. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.